Hello again. Next surface design technique I want to show you guys is using the slip trailer. So this is a bottle with a fine kind of a needle point that you can draw with. So we have 18 gauge and we have 16 gauge point, meaning the 18 gauge is a finer drawing point, the 16 gauge is a little bit thicker, but you can get really nice fine drawing using this as a pen, essentially. We don't currently have colored slips, so we're using Underglaze, which will function pretty much the same way. I watered mine down just a little bit, so if you notice that yours is really thick and when you draw with it, it's really raised, you might like that and you might want to leave it as more of a three-dimensional design. Or if you want it to be more of a line drawing, less of a relief, then I would just water it down just a little bit, not a lot. You don't want it to like come out and spill out. But you can see it flows freely in there, but it's not like water. So you can use this to draw directly onto the surface of a ceramic piece, or you can do an image transfer, which is what this is. So this is a drawing that I did of a magnolia flower, and then I went back in and added some pattern and some dark spots. But I drew it directly onto newsprint, and what I'm going to do is transfer this image onto my slab here. Again, you can go directly onto your slab and draw directly. If you want to kind of experiment with it, or if you feel brave enough just to go at it, the transfer is kind of a nice alternative because you can draw, and if you decide you don't like it or you didn't like a certain part of the drawing or something didn't go right, I just scrap it and try again, versus if you go over onto your final piece and you're drawing and you don't like it or something doesn't go right, then you have to wipe it all off and then you risk leaving some color behind and it can get frustrating. So the transfer is a nice option. So I'm going to start off by showing you guys how to do the transfer. So this drawing I did a little earlier. It's pretty much dry to the touch. I think it's better when it is completely dry to do the transfer. If the underglaze is a little bit wet, when you put the water on the backside of your drawing, sometimes that will make the underglaze run or spread with the addition of water. So it's best if it's dry. You can see there's a little bit of a wet spot right in there. So hopefully that'll dry up a little bit before I transfer that. But I'll show you just how to draw it on a piece of paper. So I'm just going to draw whatever just to show you guys. Make sure that when you use your slip trailer, you shake it up really good so the underglaze is all mixed up, has a good consistency, and that you shake it so it comes down to the tip of the slip trailer. You don't want any air bubbles kind of stuck in here because then when you're drawing, the air bubble might come out unexpectedly and kind of splatter all over the place. So it's best if you just shake it, make sure it's all down into the tip of your piece or your slip trailer. And you just squeeze slightly and just draw, essentially. So I am going to make, let's see, I don't know what I feel like making. I'll do some sort of like rubber band or something. Okay. Again, I'm not really sure. I don't have a plan for this. I'm just kind of experimenting with the drawing. Feel free to do the same. Or maybe you have a drawing that you've done in the past. You could trace it if you wanted to, or if there's an image of something that you really like, draw freehand on a piece of paper, or you can trace it. That's okay too, as a transfer onto your ceramic piece. So when you're done with it, make sure you wipe the tip free of any extra underglaze. And then when you are completely done with it, make sure that you try to save as much underglaze as you can by tapping it and getting some of the underglaze out of the tip. but go and rinse this out before you set it aside for overnight or anything like that. If you leave it like this, even if you put that little plastic cap back on, it doesn't always keep it from clogging, and then you'll have to soak it for a while, and you might even have to take like a sewing needle or a very thin piece of wire. Like I had to use this one. It's very thin. I don't know if you can even see it. Just to like stick it in there and unclog it. So that can be a real pain in the butt. So make sure you rinse this out really good, and that water's running through it after you've rinsed it for the night. So this one I'm not going to do right away. I am going to let dry, and I will do that transfer later, but I can show you guys this one right away. So what I'm going to do, this slab is leather hard, so I think I should be good. I should not need to spray down the slab itself. But what I am going to do is I am going to place it. I'm going to figure out, where do I want this placed on here. Make up my mind here. I'm going to go off to the side a little bit, I think. All right. And then I'm going to take a sponge with some water. And I don't want to like drench it. I just kind of want to gently start dabbing it with some water so that it stays in the same place. So once you get it down, you can't move it. Otherwise you'll get like a double print, which can be interesting if it's intentional, but if it's unintentional, if it's an accident, that can be very frustrating if it's not what you wanted. So you can see as I add the water, you can start to see the drawing. So I can see where maybe I need to add more water. Make sure I get it wet in all of the places that I've done a drawing. Start out slow. I start out with little water and then I add more. I don't want it to puddle again because it could make the underglaze run, which is not what I want to happen. I want to get that nice fine line drawing that I spent time making. I have had some trouble getting the stents or the transfers to release onto a dried underglaze. Like this is going on top of that pink underglaze. You can see where it's kind of skipping that pink underglaze. So I have had some trouble getting it to release onto a dry underglaze. But I have gotten it to come off. It's just a matter of a little bit of elbow grease. Just takes a little bit longer and a little bit of patience to really get it to release. So at this point, I'm going to stop adding water, see if I can't get this to release without any more water. And I might even let my transfers dry overnight just to make sure they're really good and dry so I don't run into that glaze running issue. You can use your finger. If you have like a plastic rib, would work really great. Let's see, I know I have my rib around here somewhere. Make sure that your rib is clean so it's not going to tear your paper. Or if you're worried about the paper tearing, you might find something like a plastic tool also. Now when I pull this up, I'm only going to take up a little corner at a time just to see how it's looking. So it did release on the pink. Looks like it's coming off all right. I'm going to take it from the other side. So I need more pressure over here for sure. Probably some more water. It already feels like it's drying out. So I'm going to get that wet again. So patience, lots and lots of patience. Run your rib in a couple of different directions. Sometimes it'll release better if you pull it in a certain way. So there it looks like it might have had too much water and it's starting to smear a little bit. Actually, I don't think that looks too bad though. Maybe a little bit more here. All right, so there is my drawing transfer. It turned out okay. I think it could have been better, but it's not bad. It just takes a lot of practice. Now, I could come in here and I could fix up some things with my slip trailer. I'm going to start out over here just to test it, make sure it's not going to explode on me here. So I could come in here and kind of fill in those spots that didn't release quite right. Try not to get chunks of clay up in there as well, because that will clog it up. So try to kind of pull the slip trailer toward you instead of against the clay. So I'm just going to come in here and kind of redefine some of these lines here. And then maybe just kind of play around with free drawing on here a little bit. Now this one is pretty wet yet, so maybe this will help you guys see what happens if you it might work out okay, or it might smear. We'll see what happens. So I'm just going to put it right on there. If the clay is wet enough, it might just transfer on its own. This clay is a little bit hard, leather hard. So you can see what I mean about the underglaze smearing. So that drawing was still too wet, and that's what will happen if your image on your paper is too wet and you try to transfer it too early. It's just going to smear like that. I'm okay with it. I'm probably going to go back in and just kind of draw back into it and see if I can make it into something else. Sometimes that's kind of fun too. But that's the slip trailer. So you can use it to draw directly onto your slab or to transfer a drawing that you have done on a piece of paper.